The final boss is one of the most important parts of any video game. It's the last challenge for the player that should also be a memorable experience. In the Xenoblade series, the final bosses have been very hit or miss, and in this video I'm ranking all of them. Just keep in mind, this is all my opinion. Factors like the music, visuals, voice acting and the story significance will all be considered, but the most important thing for me in a final boss is the gameplay. I want a good test of my skills, something memorable and more importantly, something fun. That's how I'll be judging these fights. So, without any further ado, here's my ranking of the final bosses in every Xenoblade game. Alright, now this is the fight that has the worst gameplay in the series. Console Z from Xenoblade 3. I just want to start by saying it's not always a bad thing if a boss fight is long. The problem with Z's battle is that it's a long fight done wrong. This final encounter has 13 whole phases and 0 checkpoints. You have to do it all in one go. In the worst case scenario, you can spend around 40 minutes on an attempt only to die and having to do it all over again. That's already bad enough, but what makes this worse is multiple unskippable cutscenes. You would think that you can skip some of these scenes, but nope, you have to see how cool Melia and Nia are being. I counted, and if you have to try again after dying in the very last phase, you'll have to sit through 8 minutes of unskippable cutscenes on top of playing through the 12 phases again. And I know what some people are thinking. Oh, skill issue, I beat this fight at level 99 and I never died. Look, I'm not complaining about the difficulty of this fight. I'm complaining about how drawn out it is and how it punishes you for losing. I have seen tons of other people get frustrated with this fight, including some speedrunners which are undeniably good at this game. On my first playthrough, I died maybe 5 times on the floor-is lava part, but after that I beat the rest of the fight in just one go. It wasn't that difficult. However, I was still stressed out of my mind for that entire attempt because I just knew I would have to do the last 30 minutes all over again if I lost. I also want to point out there is one part where your Keves and Agnes characters are split up from each other. On my first playthrough, this meant that I was stuck without any healers on my Keves side. I have thankfully never game overed here myself, but I have heard other people died at this point. Just imagine losing to a boss fight 20 minutes into it just because you didn't know your team would get split up. That is so unfair. I really think it's a shame that I feel this way about the gameplay, because visually and story-wise, this is a real spectacle. Say what you will about Zed, but the final resolutions of the main characters and the queens going all out is amazing to see. This finale clearly had ambition behind it, which is why I feel so bad about putting it in last place. It could have been a great experience, but the punishment for losing in the later stages is just too extreme and way too time consuming. This feels like I'm beating a dead horse, but it's time to say bad things about Future Connected again. Look, I appreciate Future Connected for being an epilogue that basically comes for free with Xenoblade 1 Definitive Edition, but it obviously can't compare to the other games. Even without any comparisons though, I think the Fog King is just lame from a story standpoint. Yes, it is connected to the other Xenoblade games, but that's all it has going for it. I can't even call the Fog King a character. It's just a random monster you barely know anything about. You just won't feel the same kind of hype going into this fight compared to any of the other final bosses. So we're already off to a bad start. Gameplay wise, this actually isn't that bad. The Fog King can summon some minions, and even after you take them out, it's still a reasonable challenge. But then he gets a ridiculous attack in the second phase. Mist Press will topple anyone it hits for 17 seconds. If your whole team happens to get hit by this attack, there is a good chance that you will just lose. Have fun trying again. And to be honest, that's the only standout part of this battle. It's not nearly as frustrating as the fight with Zed, but it's also not as memorable as any other fight on this ranking. Still, I will take a forgettable experience over a frustrating and time-consuming one. I also have to admit, the atmosphere is fine. It's nice that they remixed the Fog Beast music, and Alchemov is thematically a fitting place to conclude Melia's story. But as a whole, the Fog King doesn't have the weight a final boss should have, and Mist Press is just an unfair attack. In the case anyone was wondering about this, I'm counting the final boss of the original Xenoblade X and the new final boss of Xenoblade X Definitive Edition separately. So, next up on the ranking is the old final boss of the original Xenoblade X. In case you didn't know, I have some personal history with this one. In an old video, I called this one of the worst Xenoblade bosses of all time. I'll admit it, this time it was a skill issue. In Xenoblade X Definitive Edition, I effortlessly beat it, but I still stand by all the problems I have with this fight. So, as soon as you start the final boss, you're stuck within the life hold. This does mean you get checkpoints after each of the 5 phases, but now you also can't go back to your barracks to repair your skills. Yes, you are stronger on foot thanks to overdrive, but it does suck that people who rely on their skills are just heavily nerfed in this fight. I also just hate how some of the phases basically exist for no reason. In the first phase, you fight the Vida until it's at half of its HP, and then a cutscene plays where Luxar dumps some exposition. After that scene, the Vida just gets all of its HP back. Nothing in the cutscene explains why this happens. All of your work is just thrown away for no reason. Phase 4 pulls the exact same trick. You get Lao to about half of his HP, and then the cutscene just gives all of it back for no reason. However, the third phase is still my least favorite because it throws 10 enemies at you all at once. It's a complete nightmare without the right build, but becomes pathetically easy if you have the Phoenix Wings or if you activate Overdrive. I will admit, none of these flaws make the fight terrible, but all of it together does make the fight more annoying. I guess you can say that some of these parts are proper final tests for the player. Phase 3 can be seen as a test of handling groups of enemies, but 10 of them is still way too much. There's also some more to these phases. I think there's an enemy that gives Lao a force field in the last phase, but I accidentally deleted half of his HP, so I didn't even get to see that. Mind you, I wasn't even that strong at this point. To give Xenoblade X some credit, I do think there's emotional weight to Lao becoming the final boss, and I also like the music they chose. But let's be honest, most of it gets overwritten by the Overdrive theme anyway. As it is now, this fight left me frustrated on my first playthrough, while on my second I barely had a chance to experience it. Well, let's now talk about Xenoblade X's new final boss. For starters, I guess I like Void as a character more than Luxar, but in the end they're both undercooked villains. Void does have his own unique music and he looks kinda cool, so in terms of presentation it's a slight step up. On the gameplay side, however, this is a huge improvement. The fight against Void is way less frustrating even if you don't take any skill issues into account. There are only 2 phases this time and you can easily leave at any time to get better equipment or to repair your skills. To beat Void, you first have to target some of the spears you found, or I guess the wounds they left behind. It would have been neat if the amount of spears made Void weaker or stronger, but sadly that doesn't seem to be the case. Still, phase 1 is a good challenge. After that we got a cutscene that is just beautiful. I love how the characters react to the Ares housing the souls of the departed, and man, I popped off when Lao appeared. The game then lets the player control the Ares 90 and you basically can't lose from here. This phase is more of a victory lap. The key we've lost plays again and it isn't interrupted by overdrive music now. It's also a nice touch how every voice actor for Cross has a unique line when they deal the final blow.
Finish Void! Game over!
As for another fun fact, it's possible for Void to escape Volataris if you don't defeat him in time during phase 1. There's only a text box for this, but it's still interesting. When I think about it, the fight against Void technically has less going for it than the fight against Luxar and Lao, but less really is more in this case, at least for me. There are no random chimeras, the fight doesn't drag on, you just have to defeat Void in whatever way you want. If you ask me, this is a way better fight to end Xenoblade X with. Okay, the video has been pretty negative until now, but this is the last boss that I have mixed feelings about. Number 4 is Ion from Xenoblade 2. There's no real gimmick to this fight, it's just you versus Malos in his big Gundam. This is mostly a negative point for me, because this can feel like any other battle in the game where you're just spamming blade combos the whole time. Malos can throw some curveballs your way, of course. He can disable your healing or summon his servants while he's retreating. Overall, the fight is not that hard, but Malos does have some slightly overtuned attacks. Siren Buster can and will one-shot some of your weaker characters. Your party members tend to stick together, but at least Malos can't wipe out your whole team if you just stay away from your allies. There's also Prometheus as a big screw you attack, but I'm more okay with this one because it gives you around 15 seconds to react. But honestly, the best part of this battle is the story surrounding it and the presentation. Malos' voice actor just gave the performance of his life right before this fight.
Show me why you're here in this world!
The music then kicks in, which is a dramatic leitmotif of Xenoblade 2's main theme. Combine that with Malos destroying his lungs to yell his attacks out and it's impossible to not get pumped up. It's also just amazing to see how far the characters have come, and Malos himself gets some great characterization here. This battle is a more average gameplay experience, but the story and presentation truly elevate it to the next level. Okay, and now we're getting to the amazing fights. Number 3 is the final boss of Xenoblade Chronicles 1. Say what you want about Zanza as a villain, but he knows how to set a scene. He takes you to space for your final battle, and his boss theme is rock music with an angel chorus. This battle also sets itself apart with its gameplay mechanics. Because Zanza is one with the passage of fate, you have to do quicktime events to successfully see visions. I love Zanza's reaction when he realizes you can still change the future. It's the first time in the entire game when he sounds scared.
Did you gonna stop me? No! How can you still have visions?
Despite those reactions, Zanza is still one of the harder final bosses. He's immune to daze, so topple locking becomes more difficult, and he will get a defense buff as long as his guardians are around. One of the best strategies in Xenoblade 1 is to stack agility so your characters can dodge all physical attacks. In Zanza's second phase, however, his auto attacks become ether based, making them impossible to dodge. I'll be honest, I sucked at this game on my first playthrough, so it took me an hour of struggling to beat this guy. It was definitely frustrating, but nowadays this fight is always a good challenge. It's almost impossible to cheese this boss by topple locking or dodge tanking. It's just a pure test of your understanding of the game's mechanics. This fight basically ends as soon as you get the true Monado. Shulk gets the biggest power up of his life and you can finally wail on Zanza. This is just what a final boss should be. It's a great test of your skill, stands out from all the previous fights and went all out with the presentation. It just so happens that Monolith Soft outdid themselves in 2 later games. Maybe this is a hot take, but number 1 is not Future Redeemed's final boss. Alpha still takes second place, however. People love this fight for a reason. First of all, the music and background are clear callbacks to Zanza's battle in Xenoblade 1. Seeing as Future Redeemed is basically a wrap-up for the Cloud Saga, this couldn't be more fitting. It's also amazing how Alpha uses a lot of the Monado arts that Shulk had in the first game. This means that you can predict exactly what his attacks will do. Monado Cyclone topples everyone, Speed makes Alpha invincible, and Ether drains all of your buffs. Alpha also has an incredibly niche reaction with A. If you activate A's Vision, Alpha will straight up counter it with Monado Purge, cancelling your invincibility and essentially wasting A's Vision. That's diabolical, and I kinda love it. This fight is awesome conceptually, but I have to say, it's too easy on normal mode. Alpha never even got the chance to use his own vision attack until I fought him on hard mode. On normal difficulty, I never would have noticed so many little touches, and those details really are what put the fight on the number 2 spot. I also haven't even mentioned that Nael and Console N also join you for the second part. Of course I would have preferred it if N was a hero character or if both of them were playable in the post game, but I'll take what we can get. Conceptually, Future Redeemed has an amazing finale. It doesn't do that much with the game mechanics, but it's nonetheless still an interesting experience. It's such a nostalgic wrap up to the Cloud Saga, and maybe I'm a fake Xenoblade fan, but there's just one final boss in this series that I like even more. Well, Monolith Soft is pretty good at ending their DLC campaigns, huh? I don't think I'll need to convince too many people, but anyway, here's why Torna has my favorite final boss. The fight actually starts off rather simple. Malos summons 2 gargoyles and you simply have to defeat him while he has some help. During this, Malos' own battle theme plays. It's basically a warm-up. Afterwards, Mithra summons Siren, Malos summons Siren, and Monolith cooked up their best idea yet. Instead of using chain attacks, you and Malos are now fighting to see who can use their Siren attacks first. I have to say, it is easy to fill up your Siren gauge faster than Malos. Still, this is such a memorable twist on the gameplay. And hey, the fight can still be challenging. Monado Cyclone and Ether will chip away at your whole group's HP, and just one Monado Buster can be all that Malos needs to end you. It's not just the gameplay that's special, however. This fight just has an ambiance unlike any other. Your 2 Sirens are constantly fighting in the background. At one point, Malos' Siren will get flung onto the battlefield, making a loud sound and launching everyone. Xenoblade 2's final boss theme also returns, and this is finally a battle worthy of how climactic this song is. Combine that with Malos' voice actor going all out again, and this fight is just a treat to listen to. The final fight of Torna has my favorite gameplay and my favorite atmosphere. This isn't even counting the beautifully tragic ending that follows right after this fight. The only downside is that you can technically say this isn't the real final boss. After this, Laura encounters Gort in the forest and you have a fight against him that you can't even lose. Yeah, the Gort fight isn't that spectacular, but life's about taking the good with the bad, right? The whole final boss of Torna is amazing and still my number 1, get Gort away from me. Thanks for watching the video, leave a like if you enjoyed and subscribe for more Xenoblade videos. This has been Maxmonado signing out.